Eli Johnson with POCculture.com, and guess who's with me? I am currently at Lightstorm Entertainment out here in beautiful, beautiful Manhattan Beach, and we are looking at history right behind me, all right? We've got everything from aliens to Avatar and everything in between. We can't forget Terminator, of course. And this is the original on-set model that they used from Terminator 2. And it is to scale, so Arnold Schwarzenegger's actual physical size is replicated in that model. Very underrated film, one of my favorites though. And we're giving you the grand tour, only here exclusively on POCculture.com. Stay tuned.
Over to Jim. I go, Jim, I'm going to stand in the middle or I'm going to get cut out of the picture. So I stood in the middle between Jim and Sean Connery got cut out of the picture. So there you go. Jim gave me 3 of his Oscars and that he had won, and I had mine. And I quickly looked at what number was the best number because they're all numbered on the back. And I took one that's a little bit faded now, but mine's 2929. So it's a nice, easily remember number. At the time, we knew the technology did not exist to make the movie the way we wanted to make it. And when I say that to people, sometimes they get confused and they think I'm talking about 3D. 3D had nothing to do with it. For us, it was about putting up emotive and engaging characters up on the screen to tell the story. And that's what didn't exist. In 2005, we started to think, I went to Jim and I said, Jim, I think we're at a point where we can be the impetus to push technology to allow us to finally tell the story of this movie. And on 5/5/05, we started 5 artists. We couldn't build Pandora, we couldn't create that. And we came up with what we called virtual production. And virtual production allows Jim to capture the performances of the actors. And it allows him to put virtual cameras, which you're going to see later on them. And that's really what opened the door for us to finally be able to tell the story that Jim wrote. We are very excited that we're back in an era where we have a window in time where we can do a proper home entertainment release. And when I say that, I'm meaning an opportunity to really include the added value content that audiences around the world want to experience.
Let's do it.
All right, so look up into the ceiling and you'll see what look like cameras. We tend to call them cameras. They're not actually cameras, they're optical sensors. They're blasting IR light out and ultimately receiving information back from anything the light bounces back from. This is a virtual camera. And we will talk about this in the demo, but we are going to also talk about just the process in general. So basically that is a unique thumbprint. It's a unique arrangement that allows the system to understand that that's the camera, or in this case, it's a tiara for all intents and purposes, a crown, that allows us to displace it and turn it into a lens. We're going to edit the movie in some ways without having shots. So Ben is our editorial first assistant. He's behind you there. So what we would do is we would have editorial go through all of the dailies. Do you have the reference cameras? And we'll talk about the tank as well. We're not skipping over it, but we'll look at the reference. So those reference cameras are what we're shooting as a point of a way for us to understand if the performance is good or bad. But here we have our 2 actors. And one might have been good on one take, one might be good on another, but we would try to favor them being good on the same take because the interaction is much better. Then we know it's consistent and we have continuity.
So we quickly figured out that infrared light gets absorbed in water. So, as soon as we leave the camera, it would die off and fade out. So we needed to find, we did research, figured out that ultraviolet light travels great through water. You can go long distances, so it's essentially a black light that is replacing it. But we also then had to find a black light that would match that the cameras could see, because cameras see visible light typically. Ultraviolet's not a visible light, so it had to be responsive to the lens. And then we had to find LEDs that could actually create that light. And so that was all part of this process of getting this to work. And then it was also controlling the light. So all the beads on the top of the tank help control the ultraviolet, contain the ultraviolet light underwater, while keeping it infrared, not from penetrating under.
It's twofold, both light contamination from volume to volume and reflection and refraction of the water, so that one doesn't spook the other system. You don't get a mirror image of the dots reflecting on the other side of the water, and therefore the system thinks it's seeing two bodies. Okay, you ready?
Top speed ready?
Play back. Now, every single thing you see in here is manipulatable. Anything that contributes to composition, right, i.e. the fish, the effects, the light, I want to try represent as best we can here. Like, I would love to get a moment where some fish swim through the foreground, right? So I've already animated it to make sure that happens, and you can see that is what's about to happen. There you go, look at that. So that's just like choreographing a traditional camera move.
Typically up to that point in film, CG was very kind of static. They'd be like, okay, the actor's going to here, and we'll put CG in here later, so we'll just kind of leave some negative space, and it'll be a very conservative shot. Like Jim wanted to have a very frenetic and all over the place, so it was it was a problem. So on this movie, we came up with an eyeline system that would be positionally correct and at the right height based on the performance that they did on this stage. So we could take their performance capture performance, take it to New Zealand, and have it in the right correct space with the actor, and they could have it going around them, up and down, and they were hearing and seeing the performance of what was done on stage.